everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports View. I'm Ron Cameron.
And I'm Bob Page. Among our sponsors in the program today, as always, Al Dietrich Oldsmobile and GMC Truck. Year-end closeout savings at Uncle Al's on M59 in Waterford. We have David Roth and the folks at Cattleman's Meat Center. And David, next week, will be opening his new store in Hamtramck. That'll be on Kniff, just 4 blocks east of Joseph Campo. We have Sports Fans Journal.
Campo.
The new issue is out, and there's good news and there's bad news, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, the bad news. For some reason, Ron Cameron and editor Larry Palladino have omitted my name from the cover this month. I don't understand. But the good news, for you young ladies out there, and how shall I phrase this for a family program? For you young men of a particular persuasion, we have a shot of Lorenzo White on the cover here, not to be believed. Now, isn't that beautiful? That's Sports Fans Journal. That's the new issue right there. Yes. Oh, is that my complimentary copy?
No,
of Sports Fans
not your complimentary copy.
But that's issue, and you see that all these guys, and my name is not here. Now, what happened here?
The reason being is we've had an organizational meeting. Figure we're trying to sell more magazines.
And you figured I was a detraction, huh?
The few that weren't sold in the newsstands were coming back, and derogatory things were. Bob Page's name was being crossed off. That's an indication not to use it
What's
anymore.
next for Lorenzo? A Playgirl magazine shot after this?
No, Lorenzo's having a pretty good...
Yes, 180 yards rushing, I understand,
3
last
touchdowns
week.
in 2 games.
But that's a very flattering shot. Anyway, we also have Dugan's Irish Pub, Larry Payne and Company. He's got his new, who says his show can't draw flies?
You
Is that
draw
your
the
line?
flies, yeah.
His new Up on the Roof promotion. He's got that roof deck right there on Woodward, north of 13 in Royal Oak. We have Maxie's Main Street, Pass, the Pro-Am Sports Systems, Binary Computers at Woodward at 12 Mile
Woodward at 12
Berkeley, Top Hat Hamburgers, the best little burger in town, just 35 cents.
Well,
and now who's drawing the flies?
Hold on. Where you'll find Bob Page every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. After all, he doesn't have a job. That's all he can afford to go to.
That's right. Plus, it's great food, too. Top Hat Hamburgers, and there are 2 new locations on Woodward north of 13, also in Royal Oak, and at 8 in DeQuinder. And we also have our newest sponsor, Jack Moore's, and the folks at...
The big right-hander.
Yes, Jack's big right-hander. Not too big, though. Looks great for a man his age.
He's an old man.
I don't think so. But anyway, Jack has 3 sports medicine centers for you. If you've been injured in any kind of sports-related activity, go see Jack Moore's, and we'll tell you how.
I'm going to tell you how old Jack Moore's is, folks. Jack Moore's was a trainer at U of D when they had football. That's all that needs to be said.
Our guest in the program today, longtime Tiger broadcaster Ernie Harwell in the Hall of Fame. We'll be talking about a number of things, the Tigers' plight as of late. But since we mentioned Jack Moore's, let's bring up one of your favorite athletes in the Detroit sports scene who is making news as we tape this on Thursday, who has a very similar name, and I'm talking, of course, about Jack Morris.
He's throwing a lot better.
Jack's pitching much better. Now, as all of you know, the arbitrator's ruling on the free agent class of 1986 just was handed down earlier this week, and some 79 free agents were found indeed to have been the victims of illegal collusion on the part of the owners. They went to Jack Morris for a comment on this. Did you see some of this stuff in the Detroit News? And Morris says, I've been disappointed in the arbitrator all along.
Awful.
I don't see why it takes 2 years to decide something that happened in 1986. We're almost to 1989. I have a tough time believing the Tigers are the only team to which I'm of any value. Now, they also publish in the Detroit News here Tiger averages, and I look down here and I see that Jack Morris is 12-12 this year with an earned run average of over 4, and I also see that Jack Morris is being paid for this performance $2 million. Now, don't you think Jack Morris should have said to the reporter in question, Tom Gage, gee, Tom, you know, I'm not having such a good year. I'm so thankful to be playing Major League Baseball and making the amount of money that I'm making. I really don't have a comment on this.
Or maybe he should just tell the truth, and all of a sudden he just comes out and says, hey, guy, I'm making $2.2 million out of kiss the ground. They're paying me 1/10 of this money.
It's unbelievable. And look at the salary. Did you see some of these salaries?
I don't even want to look
the salaries that they made in '86, and then they compared them with what they made in '87 after the collusion took place. Tony Armas was making $1 million a year. Steve Carlton went from $1.1 million, he couldn't even lift his left arm anymore, down to $75,000. That makes sense to me. Rick Burleson, who of course was injured and couldn't even play.
He died, didn't he?
Rick Burleson was making $850 a year, and
on the disabled list all year.
And they cut him to $450,000 a year.
Still on the disabled list all year.
Lonnie Smith, $1 million a year,
and he's in the minor
for
leagues.
Lonnie Smith.
Did they put Jason
and he
Thompson?
went down to $700,000. Well, I mean, a guy, you know, I like Larry Herndon personally, but I mean, Larry was making $700,000 a year. You think Al Kaline must choke on that? Larry Herndon was making $700,000 a year. What did Kaline make in his prime? And they cut him to $2.25.
Enough. You've made your point.
Unbelievable.
How about Jason Thompson making $1.5 million, laughing at the world?
Well, he was not in that class. I'm talking about the class of '86.
Well, he's retired by then, still making the money.
The immortal John Denny, $1.083 million a year.
Enough.
Well, my point simply is this: I mean, the salaries in baseball are such lunacy. I mean, it's almost as though, yes, we all know there was collusion. That's obvious, all except for you.
All right, the salaries
but they gotta come
are
down.
very high. We know that. But the worst of all is guaranteed for more than 1 year. And then, like Jason Thompson, hasn't played in 2 years and he makes $1.5 million this year. What does that tell you about baseball?
Well, I just hope that the arbitrator doesn't go nuts when he metes out the penalties against Major League Baseball for what obviously is collusion.
Why don't they give these ball players penalties for not performing, living up to their end of the deal?
It doesn't work both ways, Ron.
No, it doesn't work both ways.
It doesn't work both ways. We'll talk about what's wrong with the Tigers with Ernie when he comes up shortly.
Sure.
Tigers, in the meantime, made a couple of deals. Freddie Lynn is here.
I like
Ted Powers is here.
All right, what did you just say the last
Is that his
name?
name Ted Powers? Or is it Power? Ted Power, I'm sorry. It's Power, isn't it? Yes, Power. I just set the stage for George Kell for the weekend. Kell and Kaline will call him Powers 8 times.
He did call him Powers earlier this year when he threw the 2 straight shutouts, I believe.
Still
I
call
like
him
his
Powers.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, anyway, I like both.
I've been watching him too long.
I think Freddie Lynn, if he stays healthy, can help the ball club. He's still a pretty good outfielder. He's 36 years old, but he's got a lot of pop in his bat, and he hits better in Tiger Stadium than he does any other ballpark.
Absolutely.
That's a good move if they didn't have to give up too much.
That's the question.
We don't know.
You even
Players
said
to be
before
named.
the show, I like the deals. Joe Falls writes in the paper. I like the. What's the deal?
Yeah.
Who are the Tigers going to have to give up?
We
for
do know
Freddie
what they
Lynn?
gave up for Teddy Power. It's no S on it.
Or is it Powers?
Power.
Oh, okay.
And I think he throws the ball well. He's done well. I think 1 year in Cincinnati he had 27 saves. Then he's a starter, and he did pretty well in both capacities. He can pitch short relief, long relief, or he can start. He's got some baseball left in him. I think he's a good acquisition. They gave up Palacios, and I think the guy started. This was at one time the Tiger catcher of the future.
Right.
Palacios. Then he just didn't develop in
Hadn't
2 years
seemed
in
to
AAA.
develop. Yeah.
Defensively either, or offensively.
Yeah. Ostensibly, then, it seems like good deals for the Tigers. And, of course, you're still picking the Tigers to win the American League
I'll
East
still
this
pick
year.
the Tigers to win the American League East.
It's amazing, isn't it? As poorly as they've played, and Boston just refuses to catch
What
up
about
on them.
you?
And the Yankee, and your former Yankee ball club, and now
But your current Yankee ball club we're talking about, not my former.
Now the crybaby of the week, he's only making, what, $1.5 million a year? Jack Clark wants out of New York. He's not happy anymore.
You know why he's not happy? They put him in the field where he totally embarrassed them.
I don't know, Ron. I mean, to me, if you're making $1.5 million a year shoveling you-know-what, I mean, you'd be fairly happy, wouldn't you? And maybe so, but I don't understand it. All right, now, the big story of the weekend, of course, Sunday afternoon, the Lions open against the Atlanta Falcons. I went out on a limb earlier this week, and I picked the Falcons to win this game. Your pick. The Lions are favored by 5.5. Hard to believe. Your pick. Are you taking the Lions in this one? This is tough. Should we put one of those Jeopardy-like clocks on going tick-tock, tick-tock in the background?
There's only one problem with this game. You've got 2 terrible teams out there. One team has to win.
And it'll be the Atlanta Falcons.
I have no idea which team that'll be.
You have no clue as usual.
no
And let me
clue.
tell you something on a serious note. If the Atlanta Falcons win this game,
season's over.
Michael Hara made a comment in the news, and I don't think it's far-fetched. You better believe it. The season is over.
What does that tell you?
And I think Darryl Rogers will be a goner this year. I think Bill Ford will get rid of Darryl Rogers this year if the Lions get off to one of their patented starts.
I agree with you.
Ernie Harwell here on Sports View today. We'll be back to talk with the longtime Hall of Fame broadcaster of the Tigers.
He's been a Hall of Famer that long.
And maybe look a little bit more at Lorenzo White's rear end on the cover of Sports Fans Journal.
It's only right after.
What's the problem, lady? Where's your husband?
I don't need this.
You don't. Let Uncle Al's Army come through for you.
Yes, ma'am. No problem. Coffee?
Uncle Al's highly trained army attacks general and major repairs on your private vehicle in a personal way. Thanks.
No, thank you.
Uncle Al, crushing the competition and high-cost service with the respect you deserve.
L. Dietrich, Oldsmobile, GMC Truck in Waterford.
If you're a sports fan, whether you live in Michigan or anywhere in the United States, you should subscribe to this magazine, Sports Fans Journal, and here's how. Our columns include Ernie Harwell, George Kell, Don Cherry, George Allen, Denny McClain, Jim Northrup, Bob Feller, Dick Vitale. Also more stars and features and profiles. For more information, call 24 hours a day, 751-1818. Sports Fans Journal is available at newsstands and bookstores and Tiger Stadium souvenir stands. Call 751-1818.
If you know suburban Detroit, you know that Dugan's Irish Pub is an institution. But what you may not know is what we have new here at Dugan's. We simply call it Up on the Roof. You've seen it downtown, but this is the only roof deck in Oakland County. A great place to bring dates, friends, or meet after work. We've got the same Dugan drink specials and, of course, the Big Chief Burger. Often imitated, never duplicated. So stop by Dugan soon. See our beautiful roof deck and have a bite of nostalgia.
Hey! Where's the meat?
It's right here at Cattleman's Meat Center, where you can buy fresh, lean, top-quality beef, pork, veal, poultry, even fish. Packing house style. Save up to 40%. Quality guaranteed.
Where's the meat?
Come inside our 3,500 square foot cooler for everyday low prices like boneless New York strip steaks, just $2.59 a pound. Cattleman's Meat Center, Eastern Market area, and Hamtramck. No limit, save up to 40%.
You said it, honey.
We're back on Sports View.
Just talking baseball here.
Talking a little bit of baseball.
During the commercial break, as usual.
With Ernie Harwell, longtime Tiger broadcaster and a short-time Hall of Famer. He's been in the Baseball Hall of Fame since 1981. Not a long-time Hall of Famer, like you said.
Long time, 7 years.
Ernie, I picked the Tigers to win. Are they going to win it?
They got a chance.
I know they have a chance, Ernie.
Well, I know that, but they've got to get some hitting. That's the big problem. And like you say, maybe Freddie Lynn can supply a little punch. I hope so. But the Tigers have had a very anemic attack, and it takes almost perfect pitching for them to win a game. When they score 2 and 1 run against clubs like Chicago, you know, they're in trouble. So they've got to get some hitting somewhere. Maybe Freddie Lynn can help them.
I think Freddie Lynn, if he is healthy, and it's the story of his life, he's not usually healthy, but when he is healthy, I think he can still play the outfield. I've seen him make some pretty good nice catches this year. He seemed to have maybe lost a step, but not that bad. He still can run a little bit. Pretty solid player at 36, and at Tiger Stadium, he should still be able to find the right field porch. Did it before?
I don't ever like to agree with you, Ron, but I'm going to have to this time.
Ernie, this may be a first in your broadcasting career. What took Bill LaJoy and the Tigers so long to put together some kind of deal like this? Because people have been crying for him.
The story I heard is that everybody wanted too much. And I don't know what they gave up in the Freddie Lynn situation. It hadn't been announced yet as far as I know at this time. But I think it was, they just didn't want to decimate whatever they had, wherever they had it. And Bill wanted certain guys, but the price was too dear, and he didn't want to sacrifice.
Did they give him that extra year on the contract to put
no,
in 1980?
No, the deal fell through. As I understand it from the paper, the deal fell through, and they said, sorry, we can't cut a deal. Fred Lynn called his agent back, said, tell him I changed my mind. I'll come and I'll play.
That was a sticking point, right?
Yeah,
and then he changed it, and I think Bill thought he did not have a deal.
But I thought all season long, and I've said this several times, and obviously Bill LaJoy knows more about this stuff, and he's closer to it than I am, but I thought they've got a kid at Toledo, Steve Searcy, who obviously is ready to be a major league starter. You got a big surplus of pitching. Bring the kid up, throw him into the rotation, and trade one of the pitchers.
Well, that sounds good, but you don't know who you get for those guys either. And I don't think they wanted to give up certain pitchers. They probably didn't want to give up King, and they didn't want to give up Searcy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much value some of the other guys have.
What about Walt Terrell?
I don't think they wanted to give up Terrell. I think they feel that he's got a little bit left.
He's such a bulldog, and I think he's such a good team man that I think they realize here what kind of
he's great. He always shows up. He's
never excuses.
He's sort of a right-handed Mickey Lolich.
Ernie, I saw a stat in Sports Illustrated, the one that's just out. Salazar and Pat Sheridan had something like 22 home runs between them at the All-Star break. Since then, 2.
Yeah.
Sheridan's got 0. What's wrong with those guys?
I don't know. I think they were a little bit better in the first half than they should have been, and they're a little bit worse in the second half.
But
I think it's just leveled off. Sheridan could pop one every now and then, and Salazar just seems to have lost his effectiveness. He was good for a while because he played many positions. He was very versatile, great role player, and he knows how to play. But his skills have eroded, I think, and I think it just caught up with him.
Ernie, from 1984 to now, the difference in the ball club, this ball club does not look like it could do anything with the 1984 team.
Well, I think it's a lack of hitting mostly. I think the pitching's all right.
Oh, I agree with you on the pitching.
The pitching's good, and the Tigers have won this year because of pitching and defense. They've always had a good defense this year, better than they've had in the last couple of years. And they play good fundamental ball. They don't make a whole lot of mistakes. But when you don't get any long ball, that's what hurts. And they have Trammell as the only threat, and he's not a real game breaker. He's not a guy like, well, let's say like
You're like an Eddie Murray.
Let's say like Kirk Gibson,
Like Kirk Gibson,
who
yeah,
should still be
you could say
here in
that.
Detroit.
A guy like Gibson, or Winfield, or Murray, or McGuire, or Canseco.
Do the Yankees want to win it this year, Ernie?
It doesn't look like it, does it?
No.
They have really been pitiful. And the Tigers were very fortunate to make that very unsuccessful trip and lose only 2 games in their lead.
Is it too much money? Is it?
No, I don't think so. I think
Fat cats.
No, I don't think too much money. I think guys still try to play hard, and I don't see why they shouldn't take the money, because the owners are going to pay it. Whatever they're going to pay it, let the players take it. That's the marketplace. I put the blame on the owners for the big money. It's their fault.
Do you put the owner of the Yankees to blame for the way this ball club is performing, George Steinbrenner?
Well, I think partially, but on the other hand, if a guy's a professional, he should be able to play over that.
That's my point about both Clark and Mattingly in the comments they've made. Come on, you're making $2 million a year. You're professionals. Play over that stuff. You know, we're talking almost about the Tigers in a negative sense here. I think we got to point out that they've done a tremendous job this year. And they've done they're in first place as we tape this program. I think everybody should be congratulated, and I am surprised, and I know you must be surprised too.
Oh, I am. I didn't think they'd be that good. I thought at best they'd be about third.
It's my pick, third.
And I think they were great. I think Sparky Anderson's gotten everything out of these guys it's there to get. And once again, it goes right back to the pitching, especially in the early part of the year. Now, on the last trip to Milwaukee, their pitching faltered in a couple of games, especially that Sunday game. They had a 5-run lead twice, and they let it get away from them. That was a tough one to lose. But basically, the pitching has been very good.
Ernie, if the Tigers don't win this, and I still find it hard to believe that they will, I believe the reason for that will be the loss of Kirk Gibson, who's just had a tremendous season with the Dodgers. Who do you blame for Kirk Gibson's leaving to go to L.A.? Why isn't he here?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it was probably partially his fault and partially the club's fault. I think they just couldn't get together. They didn't have a common ground to meet on, and Gibby probably got a little stubborn, and maybe the Tigers did too.
And look, the fact is, all this, and Gibson's had a nice year in Los Angeles.
MVP year.
He's not even going to drive in 100 runs this year.
Yeah, maybe not. But we'll take him.
Not
here.
even close.
But we'll take him.
Oh
here.
yeah, we could use a guy that could knock in the runs.
Yeah, he just didn't knock him. He's not doing it in Los Angeles.
Tiger broadcaster Ernie Harwell is here on Sports View today. He has an exhibit of baseball memorabilia down at the Detroit Public Library in Woodward. We'll tell you about that, and we'll talk more with him when we continue right after this.
Welcome to the finest sports medicine center in southeastern Michigan. High school athletes, top Detroit pro athletes, are weekend warriors. We treat them all with the most sophisticated equipment for athletic injuries. Computer testing of injuries with Cybex and the new Lido machine, and of course a wide array of Nautilus equipment, all supervised by sports medicine physicians, physical therapists, and athletic trainers. We've got 3 convenient locations in Metro Detroit, Detroit and Riverside Osteopathic Hospitals, and the new Horizon Health and Surgery Center. So what are you waiting for? Call today and start feeling better.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Nick. What brings you into Maxie's?
I'm having dinner with the Dovers. There's Ben Dover, his wife Eileen Dover, and the kids.
There are more interesting people for you to meet here at Maxie's. Besides that, we have great food, superb entertainment, wonderful atmosphere. Why don't you come out and you'll discover why hundreds of people are saying, meet me at Maxie's. It's the place to be in the northern suburbs.
And there's Flipped Over, Skipped Over, their aunt from across the lake, Float Over, and from the rodeo, Buck Dover is going to be here.
Binary Computers is celebrating their 9th anniversary, and how they've become one of Detroit's top independent computer dealers is really simple. A great selection of brand name computer products, outstanding service, and highly knowledgeable trained consultants who make things understandable in plain English. Binary now has facsimile machines and telephone systems, so stop in for special anniversary savings at Binary Computers, Metro Detroit's business computer center, Woodward at 12 Mile, Berkeley. Remember, if you haven't got a computer, you'd better get one before your competitor does.
It's time to eat and I'm so hungry now. My stomach's turning upside down. Day or night when I want a bite, I want the best little burger in town. Top Hat. French fries, onion chips, creamy chocolate shakes, baby, they're so hard to refuse. Top Hat. For dinner or lunch, there's a lot too much, and for breakfast you just can't lose. Little day, it's Top Hat, Top Hat. Make it quick, stop that, Top Hat.
We're back on Sports View with the longtime Tiger broadcaster Ernie Harwell. We're talking about the Tigers and surprising everybody. Is there a chance in your mind coming up now that Sparky Anderson may be the greatest manager in the history of baseball?
Well, that's
I know
a
that's a
pretty
heck of a thing
high
to say.
accolade, but I might go along with you. I don't know. You know, when you talk about Connie Mack and John McGraw and Joe McCarthy
They owned the ball club
and guys
and
like that, who
Connie
knows? You know, that's lore and legend and history. But we've seen Sparky Anderson
Work with a
live,
very average ball
and I
club
think he's been a great manager. I really do. I've always been a guy that I've always said that the manager can't win a pennant.
Yeah, you're very close
He
to
makes
Sparky.
no difference. But I think Sparky comes as close to winning a pennant for a team as anybody I've ever seen.
You and Sparky take long walks every morning on the road together. You know him probably as well as anybody around. What kind of person is Sparky Anderson? What do you talk about when you go out together?
Sparky talks about a lot of things. He's a great human being. I think that's reflected in his catch charity, but that's just one part of him. And I think his strength is that he knows how to handle people. And from a baseball standpoint, he knows what role each player should have and how to get the most out of that player in that role. He knows what tools he's got and how to work with them. And to me, that's managing.
I think if you look back when Sparky took over this ball club, and maybe his first 2 or 3 years, so when he had John Walkenfuss and Champ Summers having unbelievable years, and all the talk, why doesn't Walkenfuss play against every right-hander and left-hander? Why can't Summers do it? Look at their careers. They proved they can't do it against both, yet Sparky got every bit out of those two players.
Yeah.
Good examples, those two.
And the guys he's got now, he doesn't have any outstanding stars.
Except for
Alan Trammell
Yeah.
is the only really bona fide star, except maybe Jack Morris, who's a pitcher, not an everyday player. And the way he's moved them around and gotten those wins for the Tigers, I think is remarkable.
Yeah. Ernie, what about your broadcasting career? You've been doing this so many years. Do you still enjoy, and it's hard for me to believe that you do, going to every game, every day at the ballpark?
Yeah, I love it, Bob. I really do. I like the people around it, and I like the challenging aspect of announcing, how I react to each play, whether I can give a good call on a certain play or not. Do I keep it simple and clear enough for somebody who's listening to understand what's going on? I like all that, and I really don't mind the travel. The travel is usually what gets the most people. They like it for 2 years, and then they get awful tired of it.
You know, the best, in my opinion, of Ernie Harwell as broadcasting on the air is when he tells the stories short and sweet and during the dead time. He does that better than any broadcaster you'd ever want to hear.
Well, Ernie Harwell's had so many high points in his great career, but what was your most embarrassing moment in broadcasting?
We know what it is.
Well,
I got it on tape.
Yeah, well, there's one of those. We can tell that story, right?
I can't tell that on the family.
Can we say that?
On the family.
Bill
journal.
Freehand. You meant to say Bill Freehand beating his mitt at the plate, and it came out beating his something else at the plate. That was great.
It came out wrong.
Right?
That's my most embarrassing moment. But I think close to that would be the time I postponed a game.
And you were in your car leaving?
Yeah, in my car leaving when Ray Lane said, "Come on back." The game had been postponed.
You have an unusual relationship with the Tigers, that you appear on shows like this, and I've seen you talk in public, and you are outspoken. You criticize the Tigers when the circumstances warrant, and a lot of announcers are afraid to do that. Tigers don't give you any trouble about it, do they?
No, they've never said anything to me about it. And I think my criticism is usually fairly reasonable. And I think the ball players have always been great to me. I've had a great relation with them. And they understand that everything can't be peaches and cream all the time.
Now, Ernie, I won't ask you how old you are, because I know you and Ron Cameron grew up together down in Georgia. I don't want to embarrass Ron on the program, but how much longer will you keep broadcasting?
Well, I'm 70 years old.
Oh, well, Ron won't admit that,
No,
Ernie,
he
but
won't
you do.
admit it. He says he's 45. And I want to I want to keep working as long as I'm healthy. God's been good to me. He's given me good health. I want to keep working as long as I'm healthy and as long as they want me. I don't look forward to quitting. I really don't.
Well, I'm sure the Tiger fans will want Ernie Harwell to continue broadcasting until they have to wheel you out of that booth, which may occur someday. Ernie.
I'd like to have to replace this guy.
I think that'd be a tough situation for any
especially for you.
We'll talk about Ernie's baseball exhibit down at the Detroit Public Library and have more with the Tiger broadcaster when we close it out right after this.
The Tigers continue their drive toward the Eastern Crown this summer on Pass. Pull up a chair for 80 live Tiger telecasts with Larry Osterman calling the action, along with former Tiger great Jim Northrup as they track Sparky sluggers through their demanding big league schedule. That's more games than you'll find telecast on any other channel. So bring the action of the majors to your house today, because when the Tigers step to the plate, they're at home on Pass.
That was me, John Rouser not too many years ago as a defensive back with the Pittsburgh Steelers after my playing career at the University of Michigan had ended. Now I'm proud to be co-owner of the Sting, Detroit's most dynamic nightclub. We've got continuous live DJs, continuous videos, and live entertainment every weekend. But you don't have to disco. The Sting is also a great after-work place to meet other professional people who frequent our lounge. So stop in and see us at the Sting. We're in the old Playboy Club, the lodge at Greenfield, with plenty of lighted, secured parking.
Thermo Window, the Midwest exclusive manufacturer of the Polytex 4 vinyl replacement window, is celebrating their anniversary with an unbelievable 5-day offer. This week only, buy 5 windows for $995. Our thermo insulated tilt-in windows are specially designed to make cleaning a snap, and they have a lifetime warranty. At Thermo Window, we manufacture, install, service, and guarantee what we sell. 5 windows, only $995. Call today for a free in-home estimate.
Here comes air conditioning satisfaction. Carrier. Research proves Carrier owners are more satisfied than owners of any other air conditioning brand. Carrier satisfaction. Year after year after year. Buy Satisfaction now and get a $200 rebate. Call for details.
This is Dennis Krieger inviting you to call me at Town Center Heating and Cooling in Dearborn. We're located just 1 mile from I-94 and the Southfield freeways.
We aren't comfortable until you are.
Back on Sports View with the longtime Tiger broadcaster Ernie Harwell. You said that you'd like to go on, but what about, say, goals that when you started out in broadcasting back in Atlanta, Georgia, several years ago, and
a few years ago.
What did you think at that time, and what are your feelings that changed up to today?
Well, my thought was that I was having a good time doing the Atlanta Cracker games. I thought that was great because as a kid I'd been an Atlanta Cracker fan, but I think in the back of my mind I wanted to make it to the big leagues. I wanted maybe someday to do an All-Star game or a World Series. And
what's left?
Well, you know, I've got to. What I want to do, what's left for me, is just to try to do the best job I can.
And of course, that most memorable moment was the 51.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that the 51 Giant Dodger famous playoff game. Right. You were in the broadcast booth.
I was on television.
Bob Page, you said you were at the game.
I was not at the game. In fact, I was born in 1951, but it was after that, Ernie. I have a driver's license to prove it. Now, we're almost out of time in the program. A lot of people don't know that Ernie Harwell was also a great collector of baseball memorabilia. You took your whole collection and you gave it away a few years ago. Tell us about that, and tell us what's happening with it now.
Well, my collection started back in the 30s. I had a lot of books and pictures and things, and in 1965, we were going to Florida to move. We eventually came back, but we didn't want to put another 5 rooms on the house, so we gave all my collection to the Detroit Public Library. And now they've got it on display down there, along with an IBM computer exhibit. The IBM thing is great. You can punch up a name and you can see Ty Cobb in action.
I've seen that.
Talking.
Yeah.
Or my part of it is old pictures and things like that.
And the exhibit will be at the Detroit Public Library. That's the main branch on Woodward across from the Art Institute until October 31st, right? Ernie, best of luck to you. Continued success. Thank you for coming on. We don't, Ernie, have a pair of Florsheim shoes for you. We do want to thank our sponsors on the broadcast, though. We had Jack Moore's and his 3 sports medicine centers around Southeast Michigan, Top Hat Hamburgers, Binary Computers, Pass, the Pro-Am Sports Systems, Maxey's Main Street, Larry Payne and the gang at Dugan's Irish Pub. Yes, Lorenzo White's rear end prominently displayed on Sports Fans Journal.
Ernie Harwell's column every month.
And my column too, ladies and gentlemen.
Unfortunately,
David Roth and the folks at Cattleman's Meat Center, soon their new location in Hamtramck, and of course Al Dietrich Oldsmobile GMC truck on M59 in Waterford. Thanks again to Ernie Harwell, and thank you for joining us on this edition of Sports View Today. We'll
Bye-bye, everybody.